Welcome to Environment Long Island. I am Karl Grossman. Our guest, Gordian Raacke. He's the executive director of an organization based in East Hampton, Renewable Energy Long Island. It's the leading group on Long Island pushing for, moving for sustainable, renewable, safe energy. And Linda James, who is a member of the board of Renewable Energy Long Island. And here's right from their website, great website, incidentally, about Renewable Energy Long Island, established 2003, a membership-based nonprofit organization promoting clean, sustainable energy use and generation on Long Island. Renewable Energy Long Island is committed to accelerate the transition to a 100% renewable energy economy. We educate the public, work with local governments, and partner with community interest groups to bring about the shifts necessary to enable widespread adoption of renewable energy. Would you elaborate on those great goals, Gordian, please?
Well, thank you, Karl, first of all, for having us on your show. And thanks for the kind words here. We try. I always wish we could do it a little faster and a little better and a little bigger, but I think we've made a little bit of a difference.
How did the group get started?
Well, actually, you will remember that back in the Shoreham years, in the aftermath of the Shoreham fiasco, the federal court, Judge Jack B. Weinstein, ordered that a panel be established to oversee the Long Island lighting company and to make sure something like that Shoreham debacle would never happen again. That panel selected me as their first and only executive director, and we worked for 10 years to ensure that there was some accountability. And we realized, pretty early on that while we could fight these rate increases they would do, and we fought in many rate cases before the Public Service Commission, the way to really solve the issues surrounding our energy supply was to switch from fossil and nuclear fuels to a sustainable energy source, and that is renewable energy. So we began back then. We're talking about 1993 is when I started there. We really made it a focus to get across to policymakers and the public that energy efficiency and renewable energy are the real solutions to our energy woes. And so we had a 10-year lifespan, so we sunset in 2003, and I and other people decided we should establish a new organization as a successor, if you will, and that became Renewable Energy Long Island.
And for newcomers to Long Island who might not be familiar with all that Shoreham, the word Shoreham signifies, the Long Island Lighting Company, which doesn't exist any longer because of, as Gordian says, the Shoreham debacle, wanted to build 3 nuclear power plants at Shoreham, 4 nuclear power plants in Jamesport, several nuclear power plants along the Long Island Sound between those two sites. In fact, was even considering putting a nuclear power plant in Bridgehampton on the South Fork. I mean, they wrote a book on this called Power Crazy. They were power crazy. Linda James, you've joined the board of Renewable Energy Long Island. Why?
Urgency. Urgency. Trained professionally when I lived in New York City as a hospital administrator. I am now and have been for many years, a local resident here. And my training led me into climate change through Climate Reality. Gordian was my mentor. We met in 2014 with the creation of the Energy Sustainability Committee, which I sat on. I was also very invested in the Garden Club's work with climate change, serious work, and the Climate Reality training that I got was very helpful. I am a member of the board, but what I want to address most importantly is how public service and public servants, of which I am now one, contribute to the changes that we hope to bring about with renewable energy. And not only in this particular 501c3 not-for-profit, but throughout all the work that we can do here in our community. I'm a very active, local, outspoken activist.
And let me note that as we record this program today, climate change is not a theoretical issue. We're at the end of July 2022. There's a heat wave, which probably we'll all remember, in the New York area. In fact, in most of the United States, it's maybe, 95 degrees outside. It's ridiculous. I mean, normally I wear a sports jacket and we're air conditioned here, but it's insane out. It's just, climate change is real. It's largely a result of the burning of fossil fuels, whether it's in vehicles or power plants. Al Gore talked about an inconvenient truth. Maybe it's still inconvenient, but most importantly, it's not hidden. Let me ask you, Gordian Raacke, how can anybody deny that climate change is happening? And as Linda said, this is urgent to deal with it.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. You can't really deny it anymore. Even the people that have for many, many years stuck their heads into the sand, and that's primarily scientists who work for the fossil fuel industry, are now shifting their strategy to say, well, it's happening, but some of them say, well, it's just too late to do anything about it. And I don't think that's really an option. And others say, well, it's just a natural cycle, it'll level out again. And that's, of course, not true. So we are overpowering Mother Nature. Our fossil fuel emissions have the effect to raise global temperatures, and this is happening on a humongous scale. We've waited far too long to address the problem. We've known about it for many decades. We now, unfortunately, have very little time left, a small window of opportunity that we can still use to turn this ship around, or at least make a strong course correction. We will not be able anymore to avoid entirely the impacts of disastrous climate change, but we can soften the blow. You know, it's sort of like if you're, and I run into people who say, look, let's just have one big party. It's too late. We can't save this anymore. But if you're driving in your car on the LIE and there's an accident in front of you, just right in front of you, you're still going to hit the brakes, and you're going to hit the brakes as hard as you can to soften the impact. You may survive. So that's what we're up against right now. We have about a decade or less now left to get this freight train going that turns to climate solutions. And if we miss that last chance, that last window of opportunity, then there's really no hope anymore. And that's what we're trying to do at the local level here in East Hampton, where the town has adopted 100% renewable energy goal, as you mentioned in your opening. That's what's happening in New York State. New York State has the leading climate law of the nation. We're going to have to be, according to that law, at net zero carbon basically by mid-century, which is exactly what the doctor ordered. In this case, scientists told us. New York State is pulling out all stops to bring that about, to make that happen. What's lacking, as you know, as we all know, is unfortunately federal action so that this can happen everywhere, in every state in the country. And of course, a global accord, a UN accord on climate change, which we've been trying to get for years and still have not succeeded. But we bear the greatest responsibilities for putting all that carbon into the atmosphere historically. Now China is the greatest annual emitter, but the US has the greatest amount of carbon debt, if you want to call it that. So we bear a unique and a great responsibility to solve that problem. Big
question, because an argument also made by the climate change deniers is that what these people have been talking about, solar and wind, aren't adequate, in fact, that we still need fossil fuels. What's your response?
That, that ignores reality. That is the fossil fuel industry arguing that, hey, this is our business and we want to continue on the track we're on. There have been several studies that have shown that we can, in fact, generate all the energy that we need from renewable energy resources. There are some issues with renewable energy sources. Some of them are not dispatchable. You can't turn them on and off, like wind and solar. Others are, like hydropower. But we can work around those issues, and we can reliably power our entire economy with clean, sustainable, and renewable energy sources. That's for sure. It's not a technological problem in most cases. It is a lack of political will. And so I am convinced that we can still do this, but we got to get started now. And Karl, the real challenge right now is because, as I said earlier, we've waited so long. We've missed such a big opportunity in the past that now we really have to speed up the process, speed it up tremendously to still be able to get there on time, and we have to scale up tremendously in order to make the solutions commensurate to the problem we're facing. So putting solar on your roof, which many of us have done, is a good thing to do, but it will not solve the climate crisis in and of itself. We need large-scale projects now. We need to accelerate the review and approval, which is what the Biden administration is doing now. You know, we as a democracy have to go through all the review processes that we should go through, but when a country like China, for example, can just order a wind farm to be built and it's going to get built, right? We can't do that, and we shouldn't do that. But we have to make sure we can cut through a lot of this duplicative bureaucracy stuff and make sure we still get to where we need to be in 10, 20, and 30 years from now in order to avoid catastrophic climate change.
And the catastrophic impacts of the burning of fossil fuel.
Exactly.
Is it's like happening as I know today. Linda, other people on Long, I mean, you've gotten involved in Renewable Energy Long Island and this effort. What do you recommend or suggest other people do along these lines?
Well, I think that one of the most important roles that I can play is raising awareness. Not everyone is an engineer, but if we have the opportunity to move into local communities like we have in East Hampton town, to raise the awareness of our constituents, our constituency, that they can be part of the solution. There is a solution, it's a working solution. We need you, you need us. And I consider that a significant role that I can play as a member of the board and as a leading activist in East Hampton town.
People, as it says on the website, it's a membership-based organization, Renewable Energy Long Island. How can people join up? How can they get involved? How can they get active? And you're doing a lot of things, and a lot of things you're doing.
Well, of course, we have our website, but also if you come out of your house and you look up or you look down at the ground, you can see the changes that are happening in my backyard. And that alone should alert people, particularly families, particularly parents who have the opportunity to bring the next generation, whom we owe, because we are not leaving this planet in the same place that we came into it. Those are the people that in our community that I want to be able to reach through either what we're doing here today, when we have our website. We have opportunities to come to various different programs that we run, which I think you'll be talking about. And I am always accessible. I'm here all year round. I love this community. I think it's beautiful. We do not want to turn it over to our children in a broken down, hungry, thirsty environment. We don't want to do that.
Let's speak about some of the many Renewable Energy Long Island is involved.
Yeah, sure. I mean, we assist the town of East Hampton to run what we call the Energize East Hampton program, which is a one-stop shopping, we call it. You're not really shopping, you're getting one-stop information on ways to save money and save energy. So whether you're looking or thinking about going solar, or you're wondering why your house is cold and drafty in the winter and hot in the summer, we have a program for that. We can get you a free home energy audit, which will then make recommendations to you as to what you might want to do to improve the comfort of your home. We have a contractor that can give you a free solar estimate. And we have programs where you can get a heat pump to replace your fossil fuel burning, meaning an oil or gas or propane burning boiler or furnace, with a modern, state-of-the-art and energy-efficient heat pump, which can both heat and cool your home throughout the year at a much lower operating cost. So those are just some examples of what we offer here in East Hampton through the town of East Hampton's Energize East Hampton program. We are also working with the state, with NYSERDA, the New York State Energy Research Development Authority, because NYSERDA has a host of consumer programs in conjunction with, on Long Island, with the Long Island Power Authority and PSEG. So, and you can find that information on the Energize East Hampton website or on the Rely website. If you're replacing your pool pump, we got recommendations for that, and we can tell you where you can find the rebates that are available from the utility company. If you're replacing your refrigerator, same thing. If you're looking for a better thermostat, maybe you still have the old dial thermostat and you got to put your glasses on to read it, etc. We can get you hooked up with a modern Wi-Fi enabled thermostat that will save you energy and be much more user-friendly. So essentially we are the interface between program providers on one side and you as the customer, as a homeowner or business owner on the other side.
And in an area that you've been moving in quite actively recently, electric vehicles.
Of course. Yeah. Well, electric vehicles and what I just mentioned, heat pumps, is so important because we are, of course, both at the local level here in East Hampton and at the statewide level, we're aiming to have 100% renewable energy. But that would only cover the things that use electricity. So if we still continue to drive gasoline and diesel-powered cars, and if we're still continuing to heat with oil or propane or natural gas, then 100% renewable electricity is not going to help in those sectors. So it is very clear, not only to us, but pretty much anyone who works in this sector, that we have to electrify everything, meaning our transportation sector, our mobility, has to switch over to sustainable and renewable sources, and that in most cases with a car or a truck or anything else that use mechanical propulsion, we need to switch to electric drives, to electric vehicles. Even bikes now come in electric versions. If you're getting a little slow on your bike, you may want to consider an electric bike. And in the heating sector, the same thing. We now can heat water with much more efficient heat pump systems. We can heat our space. We can cool our space all with electricity. So the building of the future is going to be an all-electric building that will be powered 100% from renewable energy sources, and therefore will have no carbon emissions, no greenhouse gas emissions, no harmful air emissions from operations.
I'm often amazed of the variety of safe, clean, green, and Time magazine of all publications, I mean, it's not known for being a tree-hugging magazine, had an issue just a few months ago about the oceans, tidal power and wave power, and not just like theoretically you can generate electricity through the waves or the tides, but how it's being done, in fact, all over the world, the variety of alternative energy forms. I mean, we know from solar, we know from wind, we know from hydro, but there's so many others.
No, it's amazing, Karl. I mean, you've been around a while, I have been, and I remember when I started out, those things, some of those things were in the very early fledgling states, and really, it's always amazing to me that now this is becoming mainstream technology, mainstream understanding, and that is quite rewarding to me. I mean, people sometimes thought this was a crazy idea, and it turns out, no, it's not at all. It is, in fact, what we need to do and what today we can do. Like I said earlier, the technology is not the issue anymore. What's now required is that we all participate in this very massive transformation of our entire economy, actually, from being powered by fossil fuels, which turn out to be very damaging to our well-being and to the planet, to a future where we have a sustainable energy supply the world over and don't harm ourselves and don't harm the planet. And we can do this now, and so let's do it.
Let's do it. And we know that in your own backyard, every community member can participate and pass this information on to the next generations. And that's the purpose, my purpose, in raising awareness. Look outside, look in your backyard. What can you do to make your own little patch of land better, healthier, greener? And that, I think, particularly in East Hampton, that's what we want for our future. We don't really want the dry heart that we're experiencing right now through a drought. We don't want the heat waves. We want to be able to turn this patch of green over to our children and say, go with it, make it better.
And in terms of the finances of the transition to clean, green energy, like I have solar on my house in Noyak with 28 panels on the roof. And it's utterly amazing you go out and you see the LIPA meter, go backwards, and the charge is minimal. Somehow the meter reader still has to come and check the meter, but $8, $9 a month, and then there's a rebate at the end of the year for the excess electricity that we feed back to the grid. So all this stuff, it makes such good economic sense,
I mean, imagine your children or maybe your grandchildren waking up to a disaster of climate change and saying, so you knew about this, right? What did you do about it? And you say, well, I had so many things to do, I just couldn't focus on this, and they will not take that for an answer. We need to be able to say, well, we did everything we could to make this transition happen. And we weren't perfect. We didn't accomplish everything we wanted to accomplish. But we avoided a scenario where the catastrophe would have been a lot worse.
And action isn't, as you say, Gordian, action done much quicker than it would have had. If we had started earlier, it wouldn't have to be so quick, but it needs to be quick now and very forceful. And if not, I mean, these extreme weather events, not just this crazy heat wave we're suffering through right now, but the heating of the seas, of the oceans, resulting in these terrible Category 5 hurricanes.
And the erosion of our beaches. I mean, we on Long Island are under great stress from erosion, and in addition to the fact that our ocean is warming up. And why is it warming up? It all links together. And because you bring it to the attention of your audience, that is a major step forward for us and for the future. And I wanted to take this chance to thank you very much.
Yeah, well, with climate change for us on this island sitting out in the ocean, jutting into the sea, and the ocean is rising
And
the
warming.
warming, causing more terrible storms,
Yeah.
rising. So there's been, I mean, you can't live on an island when some Pacific islands have had this problem like right now,
Right.
and in recent years where they have to evacuate. I mean, this has to be dealt with, and as you say, there are the technical tools to do it, but it requires political will.
And the other thing, I want to make sure we mention this for a moment. We're talking about a crisis, but a crisis is always opportunity at the same time. And the opportunity here is that we're retooling our entire economy over the next few decades. That means we will be creating new industries, new jobs, new opportunities for people to benefit from that. And that is in fact written into the New York State climate law, is that the opportunities and the benefits of this transition will go to all sectors of our society, not just the upper middle class, but also to disadvantaged communities, and that there will be a just transition, not just the right kind of transition, but a just transition where we retrain workers that work in the fossil fuel industry to work in those new industries.
We've been hearing from Gordian Raacke, Executive Director of Renewable Energy Long Island, and Linda James, who's on the board. Check out the website of Renewable Energy Long Island. I really urge that. It's RELI.org for all kinds of information, all kinds of connections, all kinds of things you can do. This has been Environment Long Island. I'm Karl Grossman. Thanks for watching.